My name's Graham Goulden. I've spoken on my POV quite a few times. I'm a former police officer in Scotland, and today I want to talk about International Men's Day. International Men's Day, 19th of November, and I have to be really honest that it's only in the last few years that I found myself getting involved more in Men's Day. As a man, I know about my privilege in society, and in the past, I thought, was if all this privilege I have as a man, why should we be having a focus on men on a particular day? I used to do a lot of work. I still do a lot of work around International Women's Day, and as I said, it's only in the last few years that I've really started to think differently around International Men's Day, and I've changed my viewpoint. And here's why: 13.5 men each day, 13.5 men a day die by suicide in the UK. 75% of suicides are boys and men. Suicide is the dark shadow that follows men, boys and men, throughout their whole lives. It just follows them at all age groups. That's 75%. It's there in all age groups. Homelessness, addiction issues, men feature again. Victims of violence, again, it's men. These are real issues. But here's some more issues that many men still don't want to talk about. And I sometimes think that International Men's Day is not complete without talking about these other issues. Our prisons are full of boys and men. I think 95% of offenders in Scotland in prisons are boys and men. Most court cases involve boys and men. Most victims of violence, as I've said, are men. Most perpetrators of violence are boys and men. And 30 years in the police service in Scotland showed me this. Yeah, whilst girls and women do commit violence, the vast majority of incidents that I dealt with in the police involve men as victims and men as perpetrators. I just sometimes feel we're not good at talking about that. Society is getting better, and men are getting better at talking about male suicide, but we're still not good at talking about men's violence from some men in society. Sexual violence. Men are victims of sexual violence, usually committed by other boys and men. But the majority of our victims of sexual violence and domestic violence continue to be girls and women, and we can't ignore that statistic either. So, in my view, we need International Men's Day, not just to talk about the easy stuff, the mental health issues, but to have an honest conversation about some of this dark stuff. Are we brave enough as men? We talk a lot about men being courageous and being brave, but are we brave enough to acknowledge these issues and talk about these issues? We need to talk about these issues to really solve some of the issues around suicide and victimization of violence by men. We need to talk about all of these issues. I personally don't like that term toxic masculinity. I don't think masculinity in itself is not toxic. But the acts of some men are toxic. And whilst not men commit acts of abuse, there's just enough men, guys, to fuck it up for the rest of us. And it's about time that we stood up against all of these issues, because lots of issues that we see in society could be solved if we had the courage, the moral courage, to step up and do something about it. Excuse my language there, but I think it's something we really need to start to think about as boys and men. And unless we start to build community to support boys and men, we're still going to see these issues because they're all linked. At the weekend there, many of us would be watching the television with the US election, and on Saturday night, Joe Biden, and one of the first speeches he made after the announcements were the election had been called by the media, he said, we will lead, read this out, we will lead not only by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. He's correct. It's about character. It's our acts that will be scrutinised and reported on. Any culture, will be defined by the worst behaviour it's willing to accept. And that includes male culture. If we are willing to accept certain behaviours, then we will be defined by these behaviours. And again, at the weekend, again referring to the US election, just after CNN had called the election for Biden, I was sitting down like many of us watching, and one of the reporters asked the commentator Van Jones for comment on the result. And this really emotional piece, and you'll find this online, Van Jones, character matters. Being a decent person matters. Being a decent man matters. And I think the challenge for us all, and men in particular, is are we prepared to accept, and this is a call to men, that we hold the answers to many of the issues that we see in society. By working alongside men together, girls and women, we can really make the difference that's needed. How we support each other, how we challenge each other will contribute to addressing all of the issues that I talked about at the start. Not just the easy issues, but the difficult issues as well. Suicide is really personal to me. I lost my dad to suicide in 2008, and it's only the last weekend there was the anniversary of my dad being found. He'd been gone missing, and he was missing for 3 months, and he was found. Suicide is very, very personal to me. Please don't wait for it to become personal to you. Do something. Do the knowledge on these issues. Learn about all of these issues, not just the easy stuff. Don't get defensive when people talk about men's violence. This is some men's violence. Listen, learn, and move past the discomfort. I often refer to the film A Few Good Men with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson, and that courtroom scene where Tom Cruise's character says to Nicholson, "I want the truth." And then Nicholson says, "The truth, can you handle the truth?" And I sometimes think that we as men sometimes are not very good at acknowledging the fact that when it comes to violence, we feature far too much, a hell of a lot. We are disproportionately affected as victims, but as perpetrators as well. Please join an ever-growing band of brothers who are doing just that, talking about these issues. It's so important we come together to move past this defensiveness, to move forward to a place of action. It's okay to acknowledge the dark acts, the bad acts, the abusive acts of some men. We need to do that. Our boys are watching us. Our boys are guideposts. Our daughters are guideposts. We are the guideposts for our sons and our daughters. That's so important. We are the role models for our sons and our daughters, for other people in society. So on International Men's Day, I plan to be, I'm holding an event with my friend Ross Duker. We'll probably post a link to the event alongside this film. But I'm going to be bringing together, along with Ross, a number of speakers to talk about how we build this community of men to look out for each other. If I'm not looking out for you, who's looking out for me? So it starts with me, it starts with you. It starts with all of us coming together to talk about all of the issues that I've discussed in this short piece today. What are you doing on International Men's Day? Please think about the day, think about the issues that I've talked about, and please get involved in addressing these issues, because these are big issues affecting people that we care about, people we love, people we work with, people we live with, people we call mums, dads, brothers, sisters, neighbours, friends. Okay, take care of yourself at this time, and I hope to learn what you're doing on International Men's Day.